Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Flop Factor. It's a brand new podcast here on U92 The Moose. It's very exciting, very exciting. We get to talk about NBA basketball in podcast form for the first time since I've been on staff. Last year, there was not a NBA podcast on U92. I decided I'm going to step in. I'm going to get the baton that the NBA podcast hosts of the past, like Brian McQuillan, have laid down for the rest of us. And I'm going to take over. And I'm going to create this brand new podcast called The Flop Factor. And I'm the host. I'm Cody Burton. Alongside me, RJ Rice, DJ McDermott, Brayden Laszlo. They're going to be here every single time they're potentially able to. I also will have one more guest. He can't be here today, Connor Roberts, known Pacer fan. He has a concert he's attending in Pittsburgh today that makes him unable to be here and talk some ball. But we're excited. Are you guys excited?
Yeah. It's a great time. We've been talking about this for a while. It's been at least, 8 or 9 months?
Yeah.
Give or take. It's been a lot of development, but I'm excited it's finally getting to fruition.
A little sneak peek through Sports Night from last year. This was a constant NBA crew, and we were always excited to talk some ball. Now we get to do it in a podcast form, so very excited.
Oh, yeah. And the Sports Night lineups last year with the NBA were always a fun 30 minutes, but now we're going to bring it to about an hour each episode, give or take, a little over, a little under, probably not much over, not much under, around. I'm going to try to prepare as much as possible to just get us through an hour and then get you through to the next week. We're going to release these Mondays at 8 is what I'm shooting for. I'm going to re-record this Mondays at 4. I'm going to edit it whenever I get done. It won't be that hard. All I have to do is put on some music and at the beginning for the intro. But as long as we don't get any heated discussions going on, you never know. I might have to search for like a quack or something like that.
Between you and Connor Roberts, I don't know if there's going to be a lot of non-heated discussions considering the last NBA Finals.
Well, but we're gonna start it out with a this episode is mainly going to delve into what happened in the playoffs last season with, a lot of stuff going on, like the Thunder winning the NBA championship, running all the way through as the 1 seed in the West, the Indiana Pacers going through a Cinderella run and going all the way to the finals and losing in 7 games, but also losing their superstar Tyrese Halliburton for the entirety of this coming season with a torn Achilles. The Boston Celtics, they were looking to repeat, but Jason Tatum goes down with a torn Achilles of his own, and that knocked them out. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the 1 seed in the East, fell to the Indiana Pacers in the second round in that Cinderella run. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. The Minnesota Timberwolves made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals for the second year in a row, losing in 5 games also for the second year in a row. And there's the Los Angeles Lakers fell off at the last second. We will get into that one in a few. But first, as we're recording this, the FIBA Eurobasket concluded over the weekend, and Germany brought home the title, led by maybe the best European tournament player we've ever seen, and Dennis Schröder. He has led Germany to multiple trophies throughout his time playing as their point guard, and he was the Eurobasket MVP. He was the FIBA Eurobasket All-Tournament team this year, also in 2022. Also, he was in the FIBA Summer Olympics All-Star 5 in 2024, and he won a gold medal and MVP at the FIBA World Cup in 2023. Germany is just loaded, but led by Dennis Schröder. He's racking up the hardware, and we're talking about Hall of Fame territory here. Tim Bontemps on ESPN said Dennis Schröder is going to make the Hall of Fame. I believe Dennis Schröder will be in the Hall of Fame. If you look at who else is in the Hall of Fame, every single Eurobasket MVP that has ever played is in the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. And yes, Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. It's the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, not the NBA Hall of Fame. So you have Tony Kukoc is in the Hall of Fame. You have Dino Raha, even though he only played 4 seasons in the NBA, he's in the Hall of Fame. Arvydas Sabonis, he was a great NBA player, but he's in the Hall of Fame due to his European success. So what do you guys think? Do you think Dennis Schröder will get Will he be put in Springfield, Massachusetts?
I definitely think so. I mean, you look at the stats he had in yesterday's final, 16 points and 12 assists. Obviously, a double-double anytime you're on the court is a good thing. But you look at the full picture here in the NBA for Dennis Schroeder. Obviously, a long-tenured player, almost 900 games played in the NBA. He's been on he's been on a lot of teams. He's been on about 10 teams. It's a lot of teams.
He
But
completed the rainbow. I remember seeing that graphic.
yeah, he's like he pulled off the Shaq. But I mean, he's been efficient all his career. He's good for 13 points, about 5 assists, very efficient from the field with 43%. And not the greatest three-point shooter, but very serviceable in today's NBA. And I do think with all the buzz he's created over in Europe and in Eurobasket, especially winning MVP, that's a crazy stat that all the MVPs over there have made the Basketball Hall of Fame. And I definitely think Dennis Schroeder will end up there.
Yeah, I think obviously his Eurobasket contributions, I think especially for Germany as a whole, will be the main reason why he gets in here. And obviously for his career, he averaged at around 14 points, 5 assists. And I think really what it comes down to, because people in the NBA, you really remember Dennis Schroeder for his Atlanta days. I think it's really where a lot of people kind of get their connection with Dennis Schroeder. So at first, I mean, even I was a victim of this, and I'm like, really? Dennis Schroeder? But then obviously thinking back to what Cody said, it's the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, not the NBA Hall of Fame, which obviously to some might not make a lot of sense. But I think you really talk about these contributions. I think especially from Dennis Schroeder himself, like Cody, you mentioned it, that Germany team, powerhouse. And I think you have to –
The Wagner Bros.
Yes, that's even a couple examples as well from Germany. But I really think when it comes down to it, will it be immediate? Probably not. I mean, it's going to take, I think, a few years at least. But I think once it comes down to it, you will see Schroeder's name in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, before today, I really didn't have a case for Dennis Schroeder to be in the Hall of Fame. But after looking at his FIBA World Cup and Eurobasket stats, they're really impressive. They're really impressive. And it's kind of those stats, if you were to see them in the NBA, you'd have to say this guy's definitely going to be in the NBA Hall of Fame. And Cody brought up this stat before, but I also have it right here. There are only 6 players who have won MVP during the FIBA World Cup and Eurobasket, and all 6 of those players, like you said, are in the Hall of Fame. So
look at those names that he's with.
I said it. There's the only 2 that I really recognize are Dirk Nowitzki and Pau Gasol. The other one,
whoa.
Okay.
Respect Drazen Petrovic's name.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. I saw. He kind of got mixed up in there. I do recognize.
Wow.
That's my fault. I don't know ball. Yeah, no, Dennis Schroeder, the stats are impressive. He had a mediocre NBA career, still has. I mean, I don't think he's signed with a team yet.
He's with the Kings. He signed a 3-year, 40 something, like almost 40,
so then
30,
he still
40.
has some time to get some accolades in the NBA world. But when it comes to extracurricular non-NBA activities, I think he definitely makes a case for it.
Oh, yeah. And those 6 players, Sergei Belov, Drazen Petrovic, Tony Kukoc, Dirk Nowitzki, and Paul Gasol. Those are the 6 players. That's European greatness right there. Those are 6 of the best European players that's ever played the sport. And Dennis Schroeder, right in the mix of them. That's honestly insane to think about. Should also have a 6th man of the year in his resume, in my opinion.
Definitely.
That coming off the bench for the Thunder in the 19-20 season was untouchable. The 3-guard lineup that team ran with him, Shea, and Chris Paul was the best lineup in the NBA that season, and it was a well-deserved 6th man of the year. I mean, not to say Montrezl Harrell didn't deserve it that year. I just felt like Dennis Schroeder deserved it a little bit more, but that's what we think about that one. Dennis Schroeder, we may be seeing you in Springfield in one of these days, but moving on to the next thing, we're going to go back about, how long has it been? 6 months since the playoffs began? Probably. What happened with LA? The Los Angeles Lakers traded for Luka Doncic in the most shocking trade you could possibly think of. Shocked the entire NBA landscape, shocked the entire world, really. Even people that I know that don't really follow the NBA, were going insane. I mean, sports director Quinn Roby literally said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be watching that Luka debut for the Lakers." Whenever it happened, I'm like, he barely even watches the NBA.
He doesn't
like,
really.
No,
yeah.
not really.
He calls himself a Cavs fan. I don't know why. He explained it to me one time, and I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah. So they were a first-round exit, losing to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and everyone, the entire circulation around this team was Luka Doncic. He was traded because he was out of shape. He, according to Nico Harrison, the Dallas Mavericks GM, and he did a full off-season transformation this summer. He went into a full diet, full workout plan. There's an entire article through Men's Health about his diet, and really say Doncic was slogging through 2-a-days in Croatia while sticking to a gluten-free, low-sugar diet that includes at least 250 grams of protein and 1 almond milk-filled shake a day.
You had your fists in the air once you heard gluten free. You're like, yes.
But one of us, even though he's not allergic, I mean, eventually, whenever he continues to, talk about, continue to eat, probably strictly eat gluten free. If he tries to go back, it's over for him. That's how that works. But as someone who is allergic to gluten, it's nice to see an athlete as good as Luka Doncic is going through the same type of parameters I go through. But he looks completely different. Like, playing for Slovenia this year at Eurobasket, you could tell, like, this is what Luka looked like his first few seasons with Dallas. Like, that's the type of shape he's back into, and it's really terrifying considering he's a much better player than he was back then. He's much more versed in what he's doing. He's everything he did back then, he was doing better, except for just being a little bit slower. But it's going to be scary to see what Luka and LeBron look like. I'm hoping that the Lakers run it through Luka this year more than LeBron, and let LeBron rest throughout the year. He's dealt with injuries in the latter half of his career because the Lakers have pretty much played through him the entire time. And he's not really had, like, he had Anthony Davis, but he also dealt with injuries throughout that entire time. If Luka and LeBron can work, like, on paper you see Luka Doncic, one of the best players in the league consistently every single year, consistently a top 5 player throughout his prime so far. And then LeBron James, a top 2 player of all time on the same exact team. Now, maybe LeBron's over 40 years old now, but he's still good. He still averaged 25 points a game last year. He was playing really good before the injuries hit last year. He was a top 5 MVP candidate until those injuries hit last year. But if these guys can mesh well together, they are really unstoppable.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you look at the offseason addition of DeAndre Ayton. That is massive for this Lakers team. I know you look at Jackson Hayes. Obviously, he's not ideal as a starting center, but he's not a bad player. Him coming off the bench, I think, will better suit this team. And you look at the Minnesota series where they lost in 5 games, out-rebounded in only 2 games. And in one of those games, they tied in rebounds. So, I mean, you have to crash the glass when playing with Luka and LeBron. You know they're going to get shots up. You know they're going to try to get teammates involved. And with a center like Ayton, it's going to be a lot easier to get second chance points and also have a nice safety blanket in the paint when those 2 guys are getting trapped or just need to take a break on offense and try to get others involved.
Absolutely. And I mean, I want to go back to the Lakers-Timberwolves series because I think one thing that really caught LA by surprise was Minnesota's bench. I think they outplayed the Lakers bench, and overall you can't have Luka and LeBron both on the court at the same time all game. And obviously I think Minnesota wearing that down, obviously the young star that Anthony Edwards is and will become, I think really helped Minnesota just prove that they were the better team than LA, because obviously in the playoffs, seeding does not mean everything. And I think now going into this season, LA has to decide, the stuff with LeBron that's going on now, he might not be there next year. There is a very real possibility of that happening, and I think the Lakers will forever thank themselves that they still have Dalton Connect and that they kept him and not trade him to Charlotte for Mark Williams, which what a thing that was back then. But I really think, though, for the Lakers, and even Austin Reeves, I believe he's on the last year of his deal. Isn't that right?
He wants a max.
Yeah, he wants.
He wants a max.
Do you blame him? I mean,
yeah, I mean he averaged like 20 a game last year.
Yeah,
and is a great defender. Like he deserves a max too.
And I think that's the thing. Like, if LeBron does go, could you see Austin Reeves getting that, super max money or max money, whichever it is? I'd have to look specifically into it. But I think for this Lakers team, I mean, you have to realize that this is it year with LeBron and Luka together. Because after this year on, it's most likely going to be just Luka, and obviously you're going to have guys like Rui and other like Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, just to name some of their players. I think really for LA, this is your make it or break it year.
I'm going to report back. This is Reeves' last year of his guaranteed contract. He has a player option next offseason.
Okay, so
yeah,
he probably
so
won't
he'd choose either to take, depending on what happens this year. If he accepts the player option, he's getting $14 million from $14.8 million, or he could opt out, take a max. All right, go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, kind of like Brayden said earlier, Jackson Hayes, after the Anthony Davis trade last year, Jackson Hayes was their starting center. It seemed like there was their only big man on the team last year, and he kind of had to take the load for all the rebounds, all the defense on the team last year, and he had a good stretch of play, but it just wasn't enough. I think that one of the best moves this offseason was the Lakers signing DeAndre Ayton. I loved that deal. I think he's still a young player, obviously number one pick, as everybody knows, but I think there's so much potential behind that. I just don't think he's found his rhythm yet. And I think him getting paired up with Luka Doncic and LeBron James, I feel like even if, as we were talking about, LeBron James may not be around next year, I feel like with DeAndre Ayton, with Luka Doncic, with Austin Reeves, if you re-sign him next year, I feel like that core, even if you lose LeBron, could be very good for years to come. But I do agree, if you want to win now with LeBron, this is the year to do it, because there is no guarantee for years after. After this year, let's say LeBron does retire, then it's going to be, I wouldn't say rebuilding, but it'd be kind of trying to find the spot, or trying to find somebody to take the spot of LeBron, because obviously he's been on the Lakers team for the past couple of years. Yeah, I just think that this is a very good Lakers team. I think they're lacking a bit of depth. I also want to mention the Marcus Smart move. I think that was a very good move. Former Defensive Player of the Year. So that was one thing. A problem with the Lakers was big men and depth on the bench, and I think they solved the big man problem. Bench play, I hope it succeeds. But I think those are just some questions for the Lakers teams.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you about Marcus Smart, and I saw a report that said Luka recruited Marcus Smart to the Lakers, and I think that type of, like, obviously Luka's been in the league a long time, but Marcus Smart, a veteran, obviously a depoy, just having that mentorship there with Luka, and I know we've seen the memes about Luka's defense, kind of like the James Harden meme back in the day, but I do think this move is exactly what the Lakers need if they want to maximize the Luka Doncic potential, because, I mean, if you learn from a guard that one depoy, man, that is valuable. That goes a long way.
One other thing I want to mention is we were just talking about additions to this Lakers roster. One spot they need to fill is the spot that Dorian Finney-Smith left, because they lost him in free agency. That's a huge defensive loss. I think Marcus Smart bringing that in, I think it helps the perimeter defense. But in terms of forwards, you really don't have any other very good defensive forwards to replace that. I think if Jared Vanderbilt steps up, I think you could have a very good off-the-bench defensive forward. But other than that, that's just a spot that I think that they need to fill. But Marcus Smart, I think, very good defensive addition, and I think that this Lakers team should succeed with the team that they have.
Yeah, I think they drafted the Finney-Smith replacement, honestly. Not much people really are that I was high on this guy coming into the draft, and he was always consistently, like, throughout the entire second round, like, in my top 5, like, best players available. Atu Thero. They drafted him, 6'8" forward out of Arkansas, and he's not the shooter yet. Neither was Dorian Finney-Smith whenever he entered the league, but I think they will try to mold him into that role in a way for the future. Marcus Smart's kind of like a stopgap guy. He's a little bit shorter, obviously, but he can knock down some threes at times, off and on type 3-point shooter. And whenever he's healthy, which he hasn't been healthy much ever since leaving Boston, he's not played a complete season. But whether it's with the Grizzlies injuries, and then he went to Washington and was sat the rest of the year. But it's just with the Lakers, you have a lot of guys that can fill in that small forward position that Dodo left, but I think all the points you all made about the center is very true. DeAndre Ayton is pairing up with Luka Doncic, which is literally the best player for a inside the paint type center you could possibly have. I mean, Jackson Hayes was serviceable last year just because of how he can catch a lob that Luka Doncic throws him. That's what happened the entire time with the Mavericks. I mean, it doesn't matter who the Mavericks had at center. Maxi Kleber could have caught a lob from Luka. It was just Luka's just such a good out lob thrower that you have 2 free points anytime you want it. If he's able to bring the defensive pressure towards him, which his gravity is very high compared to your average player, and it's just he's able to do it. That's what Luka does. That's, I guess, as the old Mavericks fans said, Luka Magic. But moving on, the Lakers have a lot of hype surrounding LA this year as usual. This is JJ Redick's second year in charge, looking to do better than last year in a way. And we're going to get more into them whenever we get to our West preview episode, which is 2 episodes from now, where we'll go in depth of all of the top teams in the West and some sneaky guys that can make their first playoff appearance in quite a while, like DJ Spurs, and more into that. But going on to the Eastern Conference side of things, Cleveland. They were the number 1 seed. We have 2 Cavaliers fans in here, both RJ and Brayden are Cavs fans. I'm going to try to give it more to you guys in the room, but Cleveland, incredible year last year, magical at times even, and just rolled through the entire regular season, had the number 1 record in the NBA for parts of the season until it kind of fell off the wheels a little bit, and around around March. It was like a rough stretch in March, and the Thunder took over that and won that banner. But it felt like at the worst possible time, key players went down with injuries, which has just been the thorn in Cleveland's side throughout that entire this entire core. Like, Donovan Mitchell always somehow ends up being the guy that has to get buckets no matter what, whether it's a Darius Garland injury, which is what happened this year. Evan Mobley dealt with injuries. Jared Allen deals with injuries. And now I'm a big fan of the moves they made in this offseason to try to stop that and give Garland some help in that point guard role. But whenever you're Cleveland, is this going into here? I'm going to ask you to this, and DJ, you can bring in your opinion as well. But is this a make or break year for this core?
You want me to go for it? It's tough because it really depends on who you ask. And I know last year there were a lot of trade Darius Garland's birds flying everywhere. And to an extent, I was one, but at the same time, I also took deeper thought into it. And I'm like, for what he has done, especially how he's come back, he dealt with a lot this year. I think obviously a lot of people tend to miss that. But I really think for make or break year, I mean, I might already know Brayden's answer, but for me, I'm going to say no. Because due to the fact that you have these guys under contract, I think bringing in the move of Larry Nance, a bigger guy, I think it was a minimum contract. It wasn't anything nuts because Cleveland didn't have much cap space. And I think especially the trade for Lonzo Ball will be so impactful more than people think. And I really think the problem with the Indiana Pacers series, it's technically last year, but last season, I should say, was the fact of the bench depth for Cleveland. And obviously, Ty Jerome, almost combined his name, he was kind of a no-show. And I think for a lot of Cleveland fans, that I think it ticked them off a lot. And I think that's why Cleveland let him walk, is because if you cannot perform in those big moments, Cleveland has the regular season players, and that's no doubt at all. But it comes to the playoffs, and obviously the Garland injury, even Mobley was hurt as well. So having both of them and Donovan Mitchell putting up these just great performances just to barely get close losses. And yes, Cleveland did end up sneaking a game from Indiana, which arguably you could say too, the Tyrese shot, I believe, that was game 2. That was just really the dagger for Cleveland, at least to me, because trying to come out of that 2-0 hole was going to be impossible without Garland and Mobley being fully 100%. But I think you really look at it now. I mean, obviously, you also drafted Tyrese Proctor out of Duke, which I think was a great selection. I was hoping that he fell to Cleveland in that second round. But to me, it is all about bench depth for Cleveland. That is my big focus because being a Cavs fan, yes, you have obviously the lights were too bright New York playoff series, which that was very humbling for this core. And I think they will still carry that with them into this upcoming season because they know now what to expect. Obviously, I mean, I know we'll get into it in a little bit about what Tyrese Halliburton's injury and the rest will do for the Eastern Conference. But I think for Cleveland, this might be your best shot.
No, I completely agree. And I know you said no about a do-or-die year, but this absolutely is a do-or-die year, at least in my opinion. You look at the East. I know you literally just mentioned the Tyrese Halliburton injury. You look at the Celtics. They're counting on Jaylen Brown to lead them back to where they were last year, winning the NBA championship. But I love these offseason moves. Obviously, all of you know I'm a big Ty Jerome guy. I absolutely love Ty Jerome. I do think with the way he performed in the playoffs, Cleveland made the right decision. And the amount of money that Memphis signed him for, that is not worth it if I'm Cleveland. I love the Lonzo Ball get. Obviously trading away Isaac Okoro, one of your top defenders, but he was not reliable on the offensive side of the ball. And you look at Max Strus, who just got injured. You're going to have to count on guys like Dean Wade, Sam Merrill to make shots. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest with you. I'm kind of shocked that Dean Wade is still on the roster. I don't think he's that great of a defender, but he can catch fire at times. We saw in that Celtics game, I think it was 2 years ago, where he basically single-handedly led a comeback 15 points down with about 5 minutes to go at home in Rocket Arena. But I love Jalen Tyson. I think he's going to be a great piece here coming up off the bench. I love the Tyrese Proctor pick. I think Lonzo, inevitably, I hate to say this, but injuries are going to stack up for him. They already have, and I don't think that this year will be any different. I don't wish that upon anybody, but it's just the way his career has gone. And you're going to see guys like Tyrese Proctor, Craig Porter Jr. even. He was amazing.
I'm a big Craig Porter Jr. fan.
He was a spark plug for the Cavs last year. I always loved when he got minutes. He played with a certain type of energy that you don't really see a lot in the NBA. I mean, these guys are making millions of dollars, and Craig Porter Jr. comes on the court, obviously plays like he's broke, and I absolutely love that type of energy. I think that this is what this Cavs team needs. And going into the playoffs, I thought, okay, we're playing the Miami Heat. Obviously, they won the play-in. I did not think that series was going to be a threat. It wasn't. Swept them, absolutely dismantled them in Game 4. And I'm not going to lie. Going into this Indiana series, I was scared. I really was. The way they moved the ball, this defense was not prepared for it at all. And I don't think that the pace of play this Cavs team plays at matches up well with this Pacers team. And we saw that. We saw that on full display, especially in Game 2. We were like, all right, Cavs are up 7 with, I think it was about 7 or 8 minutes. I was like, this lead is not safe. And it obviously wasn't. Tyrese Halliburton hits the dagger. Losing the first 2 at home, you knew the series was on thin ice. I mean, going into Game 3, Donovan Mitchell, absolute heck of a game. Gave Cavs the 22-point victory. But, I mean, it was all over from there. You got injuries to Darius Garland. Ty Jerome can't hit a shot. It was bad news for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we saw that on full display in the second round.
Yeah, I do want to bring up to talk about the Dean Wade point. I can't stand him. Out of everybody on the Cleveland Cavaliers organization, he is my least favorite, and I wish we traded him for a second-round pick. If you want my honest opinion, I was just a huge hater. It seemed like all defensive liabilities when he was on the floor came through him. Like, yes, he had his moments, and I was thankful for him when he had these moments. But I think when you really talk about how many defensive breakdowns he had, it's not worth it in that opinion. I think you can find someone else who can kind of replace that production. But I do want to say the core 4 is under contract for a minimum of at least this year and next year. Now, to talk about it, you said the make or break year. I think this is their best chance to win. I will say that clearly. But I think, can you do it the year after? Is it possible? Is it definitely possible? Yes, you have the same core, especially I think obviously once Max Strus gets healthy. I mean, obviously going into next year, like not this upcoming, but the year after, I think is a big stretch because obviously a lot can happen. We've seen it, and I think really for this Cavs organization, what they need to work on is obviously that younger bench talent because that Indiana series, what did Indiana have that Cleveland didn't? A great bench, and I think obviously that's what got them the series win. I think why it looked more dominant than some people truly did realize because if you did watch that whole series, Indiana was the better team in that series, and I think everybody can agree with that. And it's kind of just a tough pill to swallow because it was Indiana's year, it seemed like. I mean, even Cody can attest with that Thunder series going to 7 games. I'm like, they might actually pull this off. And I think really to go back to Cleveland, I think you really need to utilize what you have on your bench, get the minutes to obviously, like Brayden, you mentioned Tyrese Proctor, if you need to. I think you'd obviously want him to develop first. And I think it's definitely you are going to see more minutes out of Jalen Tyson. And I would assume Larry Nance Jr. because he has been here before and he understands what this Cleveland culture means.
Yeah, obviously you guys know much more about the Cavaliers than me. But in terms of answering your main question on if this is a make it or break it year, I think if you look at the Cavaliers roster, I don't think it's a make it or break it year. I think you have a 2 to 3 year window for succession and trying to succeed in the East. But when you look at the other teams in the East and what situations they're in, I agree with RJ. This is your guys' best chance to win the East. Do I think this has to be the year or else it's all doom after this? No, I don't think that. I think this is your best chance to have it. I think you guys will do it, honestly, at looking at other East rosters. But honestly, it just comes to that playoff success because, as we were saying before, regular season, you guys looked phenomenal. You guys looked like the best team in the NBA, aside from the Thunder. Best team in the East by far. But in terms of what your window looks like, I'd say for the next 2 or 3 years, like RJ said, for that top 4 under contract. But other than that, I feel like the Cavaliers had a really good offseason. I like the Lonzo Ball move. If he stays healthy, he can be a really good backup to Darius Garland, but it's just a big question on if Garland and Ball can stay healthy. Hopefully they don't get hurt at the same time because then you'd have to kind of depend on those young guards who haven't really proven themselves yet. But I think the Cavaliers are the best team in the East this year, again, as long as they stay healthy. And I think they have a 2 to 3 window to succeed in the East.
Yeah, in my opinion, looking at the East, so many injuries currently on all the top teams. I don't think it's a make or break year to make the finals or win the finals. If you don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, you have to blow it up. You can't go on after that because if you look at the East right now, the only 2 teams that are currently fully healthy, unless something catastrophic happens, one of your top players goes down in the regular season, run it back another year, try to see what you got then. But the only 2 top teams in the East from last season that are currently fully healthy are the New York Knicks and Cleveland Cavaliers. As long as, let's say, the Knicks are the 3 seed, Cavs are the 1 seed, or 4-1, or like 2-3 somehow, then if you go up against each other again, that happens. That's pretty much the Eastern Conference Finals. But if you don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and if it's not one of the teams of the Knicks or the Cavs that come out of that East, both of those teams need to look in on themselves because that means a younger team would have taken over their championship window, come on and overran them. It could be the Orlando Magic, who knows? Could it be the Detroit Pistons? But there's a lot of things that could happen. But the Cavs need to make a push this year. Donovan Mitchell hasn't been to the Eastern Conference Finals. Into the conference finals, and I'm not sure. He hasn't won much playoff series, and I know that for a fact. Since his rookie season against the Thunder, that was a good run as a rookie. But it's just a thing with the Cavs that's you lost in a series that on paper you should have won last season. Since at that point, no one expected the Indiana Pacers to go 1 game away from winning the finals, and it's just you have to try to step up.
Yeah, you're right. Donovan Mitchell has never reached the conference.
Yeah, that's what I
finals.
was thinking. I was like, I don't remember if he made the conference finals. I think he went. I think since the Thunder, that was a 4-5 matchup, so he ran into the Warriors. So I was just making sure. Yeah, but there is some breaking news in the NBA. As we're recording this, Shams tweets. The Atlanta Hawks are trading guard Kobe Buffkin to the Brooklyn Nets for cash considerations.
Oh,
Wow.
We have movement. This is the first offseason move in quite some time, and Buffkin was Atlanta's number 15 pick in 2023, and now they have an open roster spot. And I'm just going to use this as an excuse to read off some of the names that are still free agents as of right now. Now, only one of these guys is restrictive. I'm going to go and say that. Jonathan Kuminga is still unsigned, but he's a restricted free agent. He's just trying to get a good contract that he actually likes for the Warriors right now. And that's probably what's holding off a lot of these, because Gary Payton II is also an unrestricted free agent. Al Horford is an unrestricted free agent. And there's been a lot of rumors that the second that Kuminga deal gets done, Horford's also joining the Warriors, because the Warriors are the only team in the NBA that has not made a move this entire offseason. And, you kind of need to do that after what happened last year. With you were a Steph Curry injury away from potentially making the conference finals that year, with how that first game of that series was looking before Curry went down. Precious Achiuwa, Malik Beasley, obviously, Corey Joseph, Russell Westbrook, Seth Curry, Taj Gibson, Patty Mills, James Johnson, Alec Burks, Markieff Morris, I think he'll probably remain unsigned. DeAndre Jordan, Tristan Thompson still unsigned. Cam Payne and DeLon Wright. I thought DeLon Wright was nice off the bench for the Knicks in the playoffs last season, but that's something I'll get into if he ever gets signed again. Monte Morris, Thomas Bryant. That's strange. Damian Lee, Jay Crowder, Taylor Horton Tucker, Bol, Vlatko Kankar, Delano Banton, Lonnie Walker, PJ Tucker, Landry Shamet. I think he signed with the Knicks. He signed with the Knicks. JT Thor, Brandon Boston Jr., Jeremiah Robinson Earl. They have his bird rights, so he might come back. That's Ben Simmons, Torrey Craig. Those are remaining free agents that are some key names. Some are Jeremiah Robinson Earl, forever in my heart. There's some pretty big names still remaining free agency wise, like a lot of older big names like Al Horford, but he still got it. He was great last season. Russell Westbrook wasn't bad last. He was in the 6 man of the year race at some points of last season. He can still play. It just depends on if I don't know what's going on there, because he should not be unsigned.
There were reports that he was going to sign with the Kings, but they had a falling out of some sort.
Then they signed Schröder, so that can't happen now.
It's got to be a money thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what other reason.
He took a minimum last year, though.
I know, but he might want to make more.
He loved the Nuggets, though.
Yeah.
He expressed how much he loved his role on the team.
Well, I think he fit great with the Nuggets,
he definitely
to be honest.
A cool veteran presence to pair with Jokic, and I think especially in the playoff series, it looked like he kind of came up in big moments. Like in the regular season, you didn't hear about him that much, but especially when they played the Thunder, that he was mentioned a lot just because of his history with Thunder, obviously, and how he played against them and the role that he had on the Nuggets. I mean, like you said, Brayden, I think he was a perfect fit.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go into our next segment now. I'm just going to talk about what happened in the finals run for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, obviously, I've watched the Thunder for as long as I've supported Thunder for as long as I've watched basketball. I cover the Thunder online. I follow everything they do. And I was watching throughout that entire run and watched them hoist up the Larry O'Brien Trophy for the first time since relocating from Seattle to Oklahoma City. And it was a magical run. There's a lot to get into. The first thing is that my playoff prediction was right. I predicted the Thunder to win the championship. Now it was over the Cavs and not the Pacers, but close enough. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is did something no player had ever done before. Now, this is kind of skewed because, the Western Conference Finals MVP trophy is only like 4 years old or something like that. But he is the first player to ever win regular season, finals, and the conference finals MVP awards. He's the first player to do both finals MVP and the regular season MVP since Shaquille O'Neal in 2000. And that's just a testament to how good of a player this guy is. Now, obviously, whenever he came over to Oklahoma City from the Paul George trade, there was some hype, obviously some hype, but no one ever predicted him to be the best scorer in the NBA, an MVP, the scoring champ, good defensive, like he still playing amazing defense along with that, which is actually what he was originally drafted for, was for his defensive hands and stuff like that he showed at Kentucky. But he just went above and beyond any expectation anyone ever had. I remember back whenever he first got with the Thunder, the year after the second year with the team, that whenever he was the number one option, and the Thunder wasn't a good team and he had plantar fasciitis, sat out the rest of the season. A lot of people thought maybe he'd be like an Andre Miller type player, like a great point guard, all-star a couple of years, but not a number one on the championship team. You're going to have to get a guy next to them. And at that time, that was the tank for Cade year. Cade Cunningham was that guy that was going to be that number one on that championship team. But obviously the Thunder fell in the lottery, Josh Giddey. And he just continued to improve every single year. There was a little bit of bump in the road. That 2022 season, he started out really bad, changed up his jump shot, and just was not the same player. It felt like he was just, his jump shot was just not falling. His mid-range was off. His three-pointer was off. He was pretty much just a run and layup guy for parts of that season. And then he got injured, missed about a month. The second he came back from that injury in his third season with the Thunder, he's averaged 30 points per game ever since, from that point on. And it was just a snap like that. I think it was actually there was a point of that season where Sam Presti went to the media and said Josh Giddey is going to be the lead ball handler from here on out. And from that point on, Shay's averaged 30 plus. So he took that personally, and yeah, that's not going to happen on his watch. But it's just every single thing that happened throughout that run. The 2021 draft, Josh Giddey, Trey Mann, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, all three of those guys were not on the championship team. But the 55th pick that year, Aaron Wiggins was. And he was probably the 8th best player off the bench on that championship team as a 55th pick. And if no one was watching on Twitter or anything whenever Ronnie James was drafted 55th, Aaron Wiggins is the only, quality player that's came from that 55th pick, in recent history. And he is just an incredible shooter. And then to the 2022 draft, whenever you're able to pick up Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams in the same exact draft class, yeah, give it to him right there. But J-Dub, second best player on the championship team as a third-year player, and Chet Holmgren is just going to get better and better as long as he doesn't get injured. He's just going to have an incredible career himself. And it's just what Sam Presti did throughout this rebuild, throughout everything that made this championship run possible. I mean, they're the youngest champion since the Portland Trailblazers with Bill Walton. And if people aren't that versed with that, the history of that team, Bill Walton obviously had back issues immediately after that. But the next year, they were looking to win the championship once again. They were the best record. They were on pace to have the best record in the NBA history at that time. And then Bill Walton's back issues popped up. They were never the same after that. But whenever you are in company with that team, a team that was so set for a dynasty as them, it's hard to not think a dynasty could be on the way. But obviously, there's always the new rules and regulations with the second apron that makes things a lot harder than it used to be. But Sam Presti has built with all the draft picks he's had, with all the young players he's had. It's just he's built it perfectly to where he can build this team for a long time, and it's just incredible type stuff that just put into this championship. I mean, from the point of that Paul George trade on, that 1920 season, there's 2 players still on the team. And then for the next year after that, there's 3 after the Steven Adams trade. And those players are Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lugan Stewart, and Kenrich Williams. Those are the 3 players remaining from that first real rebuild team of the Thunder, that first part of the rebuild that was a tank. And they've been able to build up. They got, I mean, Kenrich Williams is a locker room guy, but they got 2 core guys immediately. And they started with those 2. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander became the MVP. Dort became the DPOY candidate. Built from there. Got the second scoring option. Got the center. And that's how you build a championship team.
Yeah, I mean, top to bottom, this team is very complete. They can shoot the 3. They can attack you inside. They can spread the floor. They can defend. And that's exactly what we saw in Game 7 of the finals. I mean, neither team really shot the greatest in that Game 7. I mean, you look at the field goal percentage for the Thunder, 27.5% from 3, 40.2% from the field. The Pacers shot it better from the field and from 3, but you look at the turnovers, 23-8. That's going to win you a lot of games if you can win the turnover margin by double digits. And that Game 7, I mean, that whole series really was a spectacle to watch. I mean, obviously, losing to the Pacers, as a Cavs fan, I was like, all right, I'm rooting for the Pacers from here on out, because if it makes us look a whole lot better if we lose to the eventual champion. But not in any way, I'm not mad about this series and how it ended. I do think if Tyrese Haliburton stays healthy, that could have gone to the Pacers, but 23 turnovers is absolutely insane. And even Game 1 was a crazy game. You saw it back and forth. I mean, the Pacers turned the ball over 25 times and still won.
Yeah, that was the Thunder were up, I believe, 8 points, and that with a minute left, and then Haliburton happened.
Yeah, you saw that all playoffs with the Pacers. I mean, but the Thunder, the way they battle adversity and the way they involve one another on offense and defense, the communication is top tier, and that's exactly why they took home the Larry O.B.
Yeah, I think definitely for that final series, I didn't really have a necessarily clear team. I think obviously with both teams in their history, yes, with Indiana, they've had their chances. And obviously with Oklahoma City, they had their chance back in 2012. I just was glad somebody new was going to finally win an NBA championship, because I was not a fan of dynasties. I mean, obviously you could talk about the Cleveland-Golden State rivalry that was in the early to middle to late 2010s. But I think really in this series what it came down to, like we mentioned, was that Oklahoma City defense just being so powerful. And even with that, they have 3 first-round picks in 2026 and 2027. That is insane. I think the job that Sam Presti has done for the NBA and just how an organization is ran, Oklahoma City is the top, because he builds for the current state of the team and the future state of the team. And I think we obviously saw that with the PG trade, how that went down, the draft picks, and how all that transpired. But I think for Oklahoma City, they're in a great spot to try and repeat again. And I really think for this team, the sky is legit the limit, because could you see a dynasty in Oklahoma City? It is very possible.
Yeah, I just want to mention, I remember at first seeing the Paul George trade with my mom in the car, and I remember getting the notification on ESPN, and it was just Paul George to the Clippers. It was after, as a Spurs fan, it was after Kawhi Leonard won the championship with the Raptors, which I was very happy for, because I am a big Kawhi Leonard guy from his days on the Spurs. But after seeing this, it was all the reactions were Paul George, Kawhi Leonard on the Clippers. It's a super team, whatever. And nobody at that time really knew what this trade could become. Obviously, 7 first-round picks is so much, but everybody knows that the Clippers lost this trade by worst trade of all time. It is probably the worst trade of all time. 7 first-round picks, one of them turning into Jalen Williams, who is now an all-star and is the number 2 option on the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then you have SGA, who just had one of the best seasons of all time in terms of accolades.
Trey Mann was
stats.
one of them, too. Trey Mann was in that trade.
Yeah, he was.
He was one of the picks.
He was.
That's right.
That's right. And Danilo Gallinari, you can't forget him. But he wasn't really a factor for the Thunder at that point in time. But it's crazy how that trade kind of was like a spark plug for this Oklahoma City Thunder team. And obviously Sam Presti has done a phenomenal job from that trade and to now with, as RJ said, all those draft picks in upcoming years. And I think you really could make a case. Obviously, maybe it's a little too early to tell, but this could be a dynasty with how young this team is, with how stacked this team already is. Their young players are already developing phenomenally, and they're just going to keep on bringing in young player after young player to kind of just develop and be great for years on.
Yeah, we have about 8 minutes left of this first episode. We're trying to get that around an hour. So we're going to hit on something that we talked about a little bit when going on the Cavs. The Eastern Conference got ravaged by injuries. I mean, and it's all the same injury. Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, and Damian Lillard, even though he's not on the Bucks anymore, it changed what their whole offensive outlook was. All tore their Achilles's during the playoffs. And obviously, those are all outside the Dame or the two best players on two of the contending championship teams last year, and then Damian Lillard, who was the second best player on the Bucks last year, and I mean the Bucks just straight up cut him. That's how much that injury affected him, and now he's going to sit on the bench for Portland for a year and then get some nostalgia pull. But how does this affect the entire landscape? And not even just these. This affects the entire landscape of the NBA. It feels like you have the Cavs and the Knicks. Other than that, the East is just completely wide open of who could potentially take the crown.
I think this impacts everybody. I mean, obviously, you look at the East, they really have two, experienced teams. I use that term loosely because neither the Cavs or the Knicks have true deep playoff experiences. Obviously, the Knicks last year made the Eastern Conference Finals, but looking at that series, it went to 6 games, but none of those games really felt electric other than game 1. I think that if neither of these two teams make it out of the East, you look at the Lakers, the Thunder, even the Rockets you could throw in there, and the Warriors, depending on if they do anything this offseason. But, I mean, this impacts everybody because you're looking at someone who has not made the finals for a long time unless the Celtics or the Bucks somehow make it back there. But
I could see the Bucks just because you have Giannis healthy, you have Miles Turner. They're really complete. It's just that point guard position. You have Kevin Porter Jr. likely starting there right now, and I'm like, I don't like him.
I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting. You can never count out Giannis, obviously. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how whatever team makes it out of the East competes against the West, because the West, in my opinion, obviously loaded with superstar talent, loaded with experience, loaded with guys that have been in this position before. So I do think that the West definitely benefits a lot from this.
Yeah, I really think, at least sticking from a pure Eastern Conference standpoint, I think, like we mentioned before, Cleveland, New York, obviously those two fully healthy teams. Other than that, I'm trying to, obviously with Milwaukee, and I think it all depends, and I think Milwaukee knew that they had to make a splash to keep Giannis happy, because I think if they didn't go out and sign Miles Turner or somebody big like that in the free agent market, he was going to want out, and he would have got his way out if he really wanted to. But I think really what it comes down to is will Milwaukee jump up to those expectations? And obviously you got to hope that no other injuries happen for them, because if it is, that's game over Milwaukee. And I think really considering the jumps that some of these teams are going to have to make, I think especially the one team I look at, the Detroit Pistons. That is my go-to team if you want to look for that younger jump. I mean, looking what they had under Bickerstaff, and you saw that potential that Detroit showed. I think really, you also can look at Indiana, but obviously that loss of Miles Turner is going to kill them. I think really he just did a lot for them, especially last season in their, I don't really want to call it a fantasy run, but it was like the Cinderella run. That's what I want to call it. That's to some, but I really think for those kind of upper tier Eastern Conference teams, it means you have to win. You don't have any excuse at this point, because you can't say, the Eastern Conference was stacked, because obviously with the injuries, Milwaukee got less better. Obviously Indiana's getting less better. I mean, you're also looking at, who did I miss? Did I miss one? Or did I cover everybody?
Celtics.
Yes, Boston. Jason Tatum. That's arguably the biggest one.
Oh my God, yeah.
Having to get led, obviously, by Jaylen Brown, I think, in cast because they did a lot of salary cutting because they were getting close. Obviously, they had that transformation of ownership that happened, I think, for Boston. This will kind of be like a recovery year. You got to wait till Jason Tatum comes back. I think their time to shine will be next year. But for right now, I think obviously another team that I could also see, that Orlando Magic team. I think Detroit and Orlando, this is your year to capitalize off the injuries.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you look at the Eastern Conference and you look at the tiers, I think it goes you just have the contenders of the Cavaliers and the Knicks, and then I think everybody else is in a separate tier. I think everybody else is either in a contender for the East, but I don't. When you look at contenders for the finals, I think Cavaliers and Knicks are up there. When you look at kind of top seeds for the East, I think, like you said, the Magic could be up there. I also think the Hawks. I think the Hawks are a little sneaky. I feel like Trae Young could lead the Hawks to a 4 or 5 seed. I feel like them and the Pistons, I think, could fight for a 4 or 5 seed. But other than that, like you said, the Celtics, I'm just looking at their roster right now. They have no big man whatsoever. They lost. They didn't re-sign Al Horford like we were talking about before. I think Peyton Pritchard is going to take a huge jump this year. Obviously, he won Sixth Man of the Year last year. But with all the injuries that the Celtics have right now, I feel like he's going to take a big step up in terms of leadership and play. Looking at other teams that weren't mentioned, I'm looking at the 76ers right now. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but that doesn't mean that they don't have star players and players that can play for them. I feel like they could be a play-in team. But other than that, I mean, this East is wide open. When you're talking about, I think the 1 and 2 seeds, as long as play suffices and there's no injuries, the 1 and 2 seeds are locked. Other than that, the East is wide open for play. Anybody else, any other Eastern Conference seeds, they are up for grabs for any other team that has stars to develop, that has people that want to come in and play. And even teams like the Chicago Bulls, I don't think they're out of it. I feel like they could still be a play-in team. They could be a 7 or 8 seed. You never know. Like I said, this East is wide open. It is so much different than the Western Conference in so many ways. But I think injuries definitely did kind of shake up the Eastern Conference, and I'm really excited to see what teams kind of jump up into those spots to try to take the Cavaliers and the Knicks down.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm a big fan of what Atlanta did this offseason. Like, they made all of the right moves, and I feel like they could be the team to capitalize. But I've said this so many times about Atlanta. I'm like, they're going to have a great year. It's been ever since that Eastern Conference Finals run in the COVID year. But they could always have a great year. So we have a couple more minutes left. There's a game that we did during Sports Night segments last year, if you all tuned in to WWF in Morgantown United to the Moose. But we're gonna start doing it here. We're gonna do it some at the beginning of the season, and then whenever we get to trade deadline time, we're gonna bring it back up. It's a game that's references inside the NBA's who we play for, but I call it where he at, because where he at. But we're gonna go about 3-4 players. It's going to be whoever raises their hand first. I'm going to watch y'all. And you all have to guess where he at. All right. Tyus Jones.
I'll take a guess with the Grizzlies.
No, he did not go back to Memphis.
Oh, Spurs?
No.
Jeez.
That's the brother. The brother.
My bad.
Gotta think. You can't give us hints either, can you?
If there's a stalemate.
Like conference.
Florida.
Oh, jeez.
Florida.
Miami?
No, other one.
Hey, Orlando.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Hey. All right. Yeah. We know ball here, y'all. All right.
Maybe, depending on who you ask.
Yeah. I'm looking through here. I'm gonna have like an easier one.
Man, I didn't think he went to Orlando.
Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
He just left the Wolves.
Atlanta, right?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
God.
Realize got it. Luke Kennard.
Kings?
Nope.
No.
He went from the Grizzlies to this team that we have mentioned today.
Ooh.
That I have personally mentioned about their offseason.
Oh,
Kennard.
wait. The T-Wolves?
No.
No.
Hawks again.
Yes.
No
Jesus.
way.
The Atlanta
Double
Hawks,
Hawks.
baby. The fighting Hawks,
Holy
dude.
Hawks pools.
Jesus.
All right. Spencer Dinwiddie.
Wait.
Is
Oh
this
my
a trick
God.
question?
Big Spence. Nah, he switched teams.
Isn't he a Laker?
No, he's not.
No.
That was a couple years ago.
Oh, that's
He went.
Detroit.
No.
Ooh.
DJ, your guess.
Maybe
DJ
Dallas.
No, he left.
No?
He left
I
Dallas.
thought he went back.
Yeah, he went back at the deadline.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah,
Is he not signed yet?
he is. He is on a team.
He's on a team.
What
Yeah.
conference?
East.
Oh. Washington.
No,
that was
the Charlotte Hornets.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
Charlotte
When did he
Hornets.
sign with the Hornets?
Jesus.
Okay, last one.
Poor Spencer Dinwiddie.
Last one. This is a legendary guy in the mini teams thing, but this guy, I'm gonna honestly give it to him here. He stayed with the same team this offseason. He re-signed with them. Garrett Temple.
Oh my God.
I only have
Wow.
one guess,
What a
but I
pull.
know it's wrong. It's not Washington.
It's not Washington.
No, that's
It's not
Was it
Washington.
the Raptors?
Yes, it is the Raptors.
Wow,
oh my
what?
holy
Brayden
pool.
Laszlo. Brayden Laszlo.
He knows
is
ball.
has the only 2 points. I'll keep track throughout the year. He has the only 2 points out of anyone in this series so far.
Jesus.
It's B-Laz 2, RJ 0, DJ 0. I'm the host, so don't count. All right. So I hope you all enjoyed this first episode of the brand new podcast here, The Flop Factor. We're going to continue flopping around, bringing the best flops of the nation in the NBA. And we're going to cover some WNBA a little bit. It's a playoff starting right now as we record this one. But this was just to get a pilot in there. And
you know what we should do? Got to have a segment flop of the week.
Oh, yes.
Flop of the
Oh,
week.
yeah.
Flop
Flop
of the week.
week.
I just not thought about
It's like
this.
Shaq to the Fool.
Yeah, it's
Kind of.
It's the flop of the week and the flop factor. All right. Well, hope you guys, as you know, we're on all streaming platforms, and we're going to try to get a live show going on Fridays as well once the NBA season really gets going. It'll be around the same exact time that U92 usually brings sports coverage on Fridays, just a little bit beforehand. But thank you guys for listening, and stay safe out there. For Cody Burton, Brayden Laszlo, RJ Rice, and DJ McDermott, this is the Crew The Flop Factor without Connor Roberts. And thank you all for listening.